There is one more important thing to say about this process of pushing and pulling, and it has to do with the rebases. In the previous module of this training we talked about rebasing, and back then I told you that there are cases where a rebase doesn't work well. Now we can finally see why. Say that we have this repo freshly cloned with two branches that are both tracking branches on the remote. I didn't draw the remote branches in this diagram, they are not necessary for this explanation. Just know that we are working on the ideas branch, and we decide that we want the changes from main into ideas. You know that we can do that with either a merge or a rebase. Let's try the rebase this time. So we are on ideas and we say get rebase main. And Git does the rebase. It copies the green commit from ideas on top of main, and there we are. However, remember what we said when we talked about rebases. This new green commit is not the same commit as the previous green commit. It looks the same, but it's a copy, a different database object. I'll mark it with an exclamation point to tell it apart from the original commit. The original commit will actually be garbage collected at some point. Now, after this rebase, we have a similar situation to the one we seen a few minutes ago. We have a conflict. We can't just push to the remote, because we have different histories on our local repo and on the remote. And we've seen that we have a couple of ways to deal with the remote conflicts. One is to force a push, to do git push -f, but we've also seen that's almost always a bad idea because it creates conflicts for other users. So now you might think, we know what to do, the same thing we did before. We can fetch and merge, or in a single operation we can pull, solve the conflict locally, and then push. Only this time, if we do this, the result is probably not what you want. Let's see, first we fetch, there, second we merge, there, and look at the history we came up with. Now we have both the original green commit and its copy, the rebased green commit with the exclamation mark, in the same history, which can be really confusing. Now if we do a git log, we'll see two commits that look exactly the same, with the same message and date and content. And if we rebase the multiple commits, which is a pretty common thing to do, then we'd see an entire line of duplicated commits, which would be very perplexing. So we just defeated our original purpose. We rebased to clean up our local history, but in the end we got a history that's even more messy and harder to understand. So, forcing a push didn't work, and pulling to solve the conflict didn't work either. In both cases we got in trouble. The bottom line when it comes to rebasing is, as a general rule, don't rebase stuff that has been shared with some other repository. It's okay to rebase commits that you haven't shared yet in general. I do it all the time, but just remember that it's easy to do it by mistake, to rebase commits that you already shared, even if you think you didn't, and then you get in trouble. And that's the major reason why I warned you about rebases in the previous module. Rebases are great, but you should be aware of the way they really work, otherwise they might land you in a tight spot.